So we've learned a little bit more through our videos and sharing about your personal and professional motivation. So talk a little bit more what Oliver touched on about your editors, your higher ups, your audience. You know, why do you write about coffee in the first place? Why do you care? Why do they care? Do they care?
Well, in terms of like what I said in the video, a lot of times it's a travel story and people want to know where to go, especially if it's a city they haven't been, or they've just come to specialty coffee and starting to care about where to drink, and they'd like to at least have a map to start with. In terms of Cool Hunting, they're just very discerning folks, and they're all coffee fans, and so they want to know what's happening, and they want to know who's making something interesting, who's doing something interesting, and what new products are coming out, if it's a new filter, a new other kind of apparatus. So for them, it's really kind of knowing what's going on, but getting it down to the best of the best, and putting that on our website next to an article about urban art, an article about a new laptop cover, an article about a new hotel in Africa, and mixing all those things in.
Melissa, what about you?
Well, I wouldn't be writing about coffee if it weren't for Starbucks. I know maybe that's a dirty word to some people here, but...
We're not allowed to have it be a dirty word around here, actually. Yeah.
So that's what I'm supposed to cover primarily, but I've found that I can't really write about it without understanding a lot more about specialty coffee. So, and when I write about it, I mean, our readers are bananas about coffee. They just love it. Like, one of the first things I did to educate myself and then readers was to do this story about all the different kinds of coffee drinks you can order that aren't on the menu, you know, like a shot in the dark and all that kind of thing. And I was educating myself. I mean, we kind of get confused about what a macchiato is in Seattle. Because,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's one thing to Starbucks and it's something else to everybody else. And so I wrote about all of that, and readers love that. I mean, it got great readership. It was a nice graphic on the page. It got tons of comments with people arguing with each other. And that's fun. And every now and then I try to do a roundup, like, of roasters talking about terroir and, you know, what their favorite region is and why. Barista personalities, that was a fun roundup. Things like that. People eat it up, but the whole reason we do it is Starbucks.
But you scaled back the blog that you're writing.
Yeah, I killed it.
Yeah, why?
The reason I started it for two reasons. It went on for almost 2 years, and I started it because I realized I couldn't learn as much as I wanted to about specialty coffee without doing a lot of research that wasn't going to make it into the paper. And I thought, as long as I'm doing this, I might as well have a forum, you know, for it. And I learned a lot in those 2 years, and I really enjoyed it. But after 2 years, I was getting very into it, and I realized I wasn't writing that much for the paper, and that's bad for my career. Well, actually, another reason I started it was because a lot of reporters at that time were starting blogs. It's like, what's this about? How does it work? And I had this natural thing I wanted to write about, so it was a good fit. But it got to be so time-consuming. I mean, writing about a small business compared to a public company can require a lot more phone calls, a lot more questions, just a lot more time, because you're trying to make sure you get things accurate, like Oliver was saying. And yeah, I couldn't do it every day and keep doing my regular job.
Now, Oliver, for you, you have different outlets that you write for.
Yeah.
Like, how's their editorial sort of interest different?
Well, so I write for the dining section of the New York Times, which is a features part of the Times, but it's a newspaper. And then I write for the New York Times Sunday magazine, so it's a different form, it's a different voice. I also write for the Diners Journal, which is the online blog for the dining section, so that goes through the dining section. And then I write Ristretto, which is a column that appears in the New York Times Style magazine's online publication called The Moment. So that's a style publication, and that's a blog. So every one of these has a different voice. So in the newspaper and dining, it's a newspaper, which is just, or it's in the newspaper, so there's no first person, there's no I. There's no opinion. There's no I like this, I like that, or this is good or this is not good. That doesn't exist. You quote other people and you look at what's going on. In the magazine, there's a little bit more depth.
And in talking to people from the New York Times, other folks, and we'll hear from some of the others through the videos, but it's a cultural thing over there. They're very serious about that.
Yeah, and it's incredibly important. I mean, the New York Times is a private company, but it's treated like a public trust. You walk around with a little bit of a sense of, you know, maybe a target on your back, or maybe like a GPS, you know, a locator in your pocket or something. Like, everybody's kind of aware of what you're doing. And the fact is, you know, it's publication. I mean, we're there in writing and publishing things. But with the moment, I can be first person. I can say I. So that's my blog. But I think we were talking about this also. To blog is the most work, and it pays the least. So there's that as well. Like if I were to do nothing but write blogs, I'd be living in a but it would be a tough life. So what you want to do is put things into print, and what you do in print is very, very different than what you do on the blog.
Sure.
I try to put everything into print. That's my goal for everything I write.
And so what about the other publications that you write for? How is their editorial side of things? How are they different?
Well, GQ and Bon Appetit, they both are part of Condé Nast, so the editorial ethics are more or less the same at the Times, and that's good because there are some Glossy magazines that have looser ethics, but they want to write about what's cool and sexy. Like GQ has long format articles in the back, but in terms of the front, which is what I do, the front of the book, they want to write about what's neat. It's a fashion magazine, like that's what it is. Bon Appetit is basically a fashion magazine about food. So that's their approach. They don't want to write about the problems, or they don't want to publish what the problems and the issues and the gripes are. They want to write about, or they want to publish what's great.
Right.